Welcome back to the Infinite Creators. I have a gentleman by the name of Danny Quigley on this week. Danny is doing a lot of work around suicide awareness, prevention, and people's mental health. Now, when I say doing a lot of work, his way of creating more awareness and trying to change the stigma that surrounds it is by putting his body on the line and doing things that just not just anybody can do. And that includes doing 10 Ironmans in 10 days. And he's about to do a 100-kilometre swim, starting in Lifford and swimming down the Foyle to Kennego Bay on Monday. So this podcast has come at a good time. It's going to be a very, very deep conversation because he's going to share his story of, losing someone to suicide and how he has now dedicated his life to, trying to help others through their own struggles. So I hope you enjoy this episode. Please press subscribe and you'll get all the latest notifications on the latest releases. Enjoy. Danny Quigley, welcome to the Infinite Creators podcast. It's great to meet you and see you here. How are you?
All good, hey? All good. Finally got round to getting in here, hey? Getting chatting.
Well, you're a busy man. You're doing a lot of work at the minute, preparing.
I've got this big swim now, the celebration of life. So I've got that coming up now on Monday. Mm-hmm. It's literally like 6 days away or something.
Yes.
So
the celebration of life. Can you tell me a bit more about that?
So the celebration of life is just a title of what I hope to do now in the Monday. Plan is plan on swimming over 100 kilometers in memory of 103 individuals who have lost their lives to suicide. So the idea is they celebrate the life of each individual for who they were and not because of how they died. Mm-hmm. So that's the whole celebration of life is celebrate these people for the good times, remember them for the good times, remember them for the laughs, the smiles and all those happy memories that people have of those people who have died. Mm. And just take away the stigma surrounding and truly sort of highlight who they were, what they love to do, that just the kind of person they were, and forget about the stigma. Mm-hmm. That's the plan of the celebration of life.
It's amazing. So I really want to hear like where this all started for Danny, like where, going back to the start. We're all on a journey, and I suppose growing up as a young kid, this wasn't something that you thought that your life was going to be, but bring me back to a point in time where I suppose life changed for Danny, and this is what kind of sent you on this path.
I think my life really sort of, I don't want to quote the Fresh Prince, flipped upside down, but my life really changed in 2011, and my daddy died from suicide, and like that was a really hard time for us. I was 19 at the time, sign on the dole, no job, just out of school, didn't really know where I was heading, and then my daddy died, and it was like limbo is the only way I can sort of describe it. No, I didn't feel as if I was living, and I wasn't dead, so it was like, where am I and what am I doing? What's the point in doing anything? At that time, hey, we had a great upbringing, really happy family, big house in the countryside. My daddy had a house in the city that he was renting out, and really looking good. Things were looking good. I never knew it at the time how lucky I was. But we lost everything. We lost the houses. We moved back in the Derry, and that's where life sort of really changed for me, in the sense that I had a purpose, and I was going on. I was just letting life sort of go the way it went without any real drive or any real motivation, or and I didn't really know where I was heading before my daddy died. Never mind after, but after he died, it was like, what's the point in working? What's the point in doing anything? Like, my daddy was a really hard working person. He raced for Ireland triathlons. Colm Quigley is my daddy's name. But it was just a massive shift in terms of I had advice. I had someone who would show me the ropes. No, my daddy was my best friend, and I shadowed him, and his word was gospel. Like my daddy was somebody that I really looked up to, and somebody who was a massive part of my life. And it was somebody who would have just if I had any questions, like, you went to your daddy, you know what I mean, and he would have some sort of advice. Not saying it was a right advice, but he would have had advice. And just they lose that, and they lose my daddy, and they just deal with that at that time. There was no real support there. There was nothing there. Like, there was when my daddy died, it was just like, what do you do, you know? And
Just like, it was like a void.
it was my daddy. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was my daddy gone. He was there one minute, hey, and then he's just not there. And I think the only way of truly trying to put that on the words is imagine your whole life, the motivation, the person you look up to, the person who you really truly admire, and the person that has made you what you are, they be there, and then they be gone, and with no real understanding of why, you know. And like, with suicide, at that time, I had no understanding of the word of, I had no understanding of what mental health was, or what a mental illness was. I had no understanding. Unlike, well, if someone died in a car crash, obviously it's sad, but there's reasoning. No, there could be some sort of reason, whether it be the road was wet, visibility was poor. When somebody dies from suicide, there's no explanation. There's no why. And I think we confuse ourselves afterwards, and we start to think, no, what if I had did this? What if I had did that? Would it have made a difference? And there's a lot of questioning and a lot of confusion after a suicide, to the point where you get angry at yourself, you get angry at others. There's just a lot of questions, and a lot of those questions will never be answered. And do they need to be answered is important as well, because a lot of it doesn't actually need to be answered. And I think it's through time and like what you learn afterwards about mental health, because at that time there was nothing, man. Like, we were just left to our own devices, and my mommy wasn't coping well with it. She was like the rest of us, in that limbo, and that hole, if you want to call it. Like, it's not a good place, you know.
Can you, like, give me an idea of, like, that limbo that you talk about, that, like, that hole, that gap, that moment after your life has just radically changed? Like, what did a day look like for Danny?
Like, as I say, like I was trying to take myself back into that time when my daddy died. Like, and I really appreciate this conversation as well. I know a lot of, I know you're probably feeling a wee bit awkward of asking me like to go back into that time, but through experience, I realised that going back into that time and really diving into that uh, moment in time, it really helps me. It really helps me to talk about it, and I would really encourage anybody who's suffering from some sort of a traumatic event or period of time, they really dive in and hit it head on. Not only does it get easier to talk about, but it can sometimes bring up something that you missed. So by even asking me like they go back into that time, I really appreciate that. Uh, I wish more people had did it. Uh, my daddy stayed 12 years, and now it's like I'm only starting to really talk about it now. But going back into that time period, like all I can remember is um I was at my girlfriend's house at the time, and we got a phone call from my mummy. Let's go out and check a house. And we went out, and blue flashing lights and all. This is taking me right back to like the time where when my daddy died. And then I'll touch on that limbo that I'm trying to describe. But we got out to the house, and the guards were there, and we had a black Labrador, and I've even wrote about the Labrador and stuff. That the Labrador itself was crying, and we could hear the roars of the Labrador. And we got there, and my uncle was there, and he was just sort of just shaking his head, and we knew. Nobody says your dad is dead. Nobody says he died from suicide. No, we just knew. And at that point, at that time, like I remember going around the back of the house crying my eyes out, like I was physically slapping my head off the wall, like I was banging my head off the wall, a concrete wall, and just crying my eyes out, hey, and then it was like you're thinking, why did he do it? No, why did he do it? Was he not thinking about us? No, you're thinking, what's next? We've got a wake to deal with. I've got my wee brothers and sisters. They haven't been told yet. You know, you're thinking. It's funny because there's always some sort of humor on there, isn't there? And I remember my wee brother telling me afterwards that he was thinking about a fiver that he owed me dad. You know, he is thinking about a fiver that he owed me dad. And no, obviously the age of us when it happened, maybe I've got four wee brothers and sisters, and I was the oldest. I was 19. I think my wee sister Anya was 16. Oisin was yeah, ages aren't my thing, but Oisin was maybe 10 or something, and then Ava and Colm was really young, and or Colm and Ava was really young, and I just remember like how are we going to tell anyone? No, and for me, that's the only person that I can really speak for in terms of how I was feeling at that time, because we didn't really talk about feelings back then. You know, it was 2011, um, and it's funny because I'm actually working on something now, but I'm not going to jump too far ahead in terms of like childhood emotions and how we can learn more from helping the children of today. But back then, man, I didn't even know what feeling sad was. But I was severely depressed, to the point where I would go to sleep crying. I would wake up and have no goals, no motivation, no want to talk to people, no need to talk to people. There was nothing that could help. There was a feeling of the worst thing possible has happened to me. Why should I worry about anything else? Nothing's going to top this. And I think like that was a really bad feeling they have, but it was also a really strong, resilient, what's the word I'm looking for? It gave me something that I could use in terms of it kind of made me become a wee bit fearless, no, mentally, and in the thinking that how can somebody hurt me? No, I can't be hurt. I've already experienced the worst thing possible. So why should I fear anything or anyone? And I think it gave me a bit of resilience. It gave me the power to not be afraid of people and day-to-day stresses and like financial stresses didn't mean anything anymore. Houses didn't mean anything to me anymore. Working didn't mean anything to me anymore. The drive for money and the drive for anything didn't really mean anything anymore. So in a way, it was you're dealing with the devastation of losing your father, but in hindsight, you're learning that money means nothing. Your mental strength and your mental health means everything, and by going through that really traumatic event at the age of 19, it made me realize that I had been wasting time, in the sense that I was wasting my time hunting money and hunting anything other than living in the moment and living in nature and living in a good healthy mindset and a good healthy balance. No, it really opened my eyes to a lot of things. And sometimes, like, don't get me wrong, like sometimes you, in fact, all the time, you need to be reminding yourself of that. It really hit home, in the sense that I was doing a lot of time wasting. I was wasting my time trying to please society and trying to please people who don't mean anything to me, and I don't mean anything to them. And I think by looking after yourself, it can help you look after others. And if you're not looking after yourself, then you're in a sense not practicing what you preach. Because in order to look after others, you need to be in a position to give sound advice and provide. And if you're not, what I mean by looking after yourself is taking appropriate, self-care measures and really the stuff that we take for granted, like going for a walk, eating well, drinking well, keeping yourself hydrated. And I know I'm jumping from thing to thing, but it was an eye opener for me. It was a massive learning. It was something that I learned the hard way. I learned the hard way, and I think would I have ever learnt if it never went that way? Would I truly understand what was necessary to get by versus what wasn't? And I think I learned the hard way, in the sense that what my daddy did wasn't his fault, but it taught me that I need to try to look after my mental health, so that I can avoid being in that position if my life headed in the same direction. And I think a lot of it is about preventing yourself from going under, and that's what I'm trying to do now. Is just, I think we all sort of live our lives today trying to stay above water. I think we 90% of the time we're all depressed, and what we do is what's keeping us going. Our day-to-day activities, our hobbies, our things that we need to do every day is what keeps those feelings away. Mm-hmm. I think the more we truly sort of sit back and look at the world, what out there is rewarding, and there's not much out there that's very rewarding, other than, in my opinion, helping others. Like, nothing really matters, man. Like, in terms of like material things, like we had the house, we had everything going for us. Materialistic things means nothing. It means nothing whenever the person that's earned it is gone. Not just the fact that you've lost you've lost all those material things straight away. Like, the birthday's coming up, like, that's me down a few pounds, you know what I mean? My daddy's not going to give me nothing. He ain't here. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that's not what you think about. You think about, fuck, he's going to miss me doing my first race. He's going to miss me doing this. He's going to not see me doing that. He's not going to be at this. He's not going to be at that. That's what you start thinking about. And I think, like, it's an eye opener.
You talk about society and materialistic, and then you talk about what really matters, and where has society gone? And you talk about helping others. Like, where should we go?
Yeah.
Where are we versus where should we go?
Yeah, it's a difficult question, isn't it? Like, I think when it comes to society, a lot of like, if I go on social media now, for example, like, I'm going to see things that are completely different from what you're going to see, and somebody else is going to see things on social media that's completely different from what I see. What I like to do is have a sort of topic, or have a following. If you're on social media, like, I don't follow anybody on social media. Like, I try to be creative in the sense that if I'm on social media, it's to put up what I feel is right. What I imagine to be a benefit to somebody who is either suffering from mental health or battling their own demons, whatever it may be. Like, I try to share things that help me get over those bad thoughts, or get over those lazy periods where I might not feel like doing anything. What will get me up and get me out. I believe that, like, society at the minute is how you see it. It's how you see society is the supposed message, but you don't have to look far to sort of see people chasing chasing materialistic things. For me, it's about getting out there and getting out on the nature and doing things that will keep you afloat. You know, keep you healthy, keep your mind good, and feeling good about yourself, and feeling that you can do whatever you love in a safe, in an environment where you're feeling reward for what you're doing. It's a complicated subject, isn't it? Because society is how we see it, and our environment is so important, because the people who you're around may see society differently. Like a lot of the best conversations I have with people are people who are really self motivated and at one with nature. Like I used to have a really hard time in the sense that I thought everybody was thinking, I want that car, I want that job, I want that house, I want that whatever it may be, materialistic, that is the end goal. But what you find is whenever you talk to people, they're kind of all on the same page. Like they don't actually want those things, yet we still go and buy them, and it just brings up questions of now, are you practicing what you preach? No, are you trying to impress people through having these things? If that's the way you're thinking, then I truly believe that if things go pear-shaped, then you will be vulnerable. Like you'll be in a worse off position mentally than if you love on the basics. No, love on have I got heating? Have I got a roof over my head? No, have I got a full belly? Am I happy with what I have? Or am I chasing this? Do I want that? Do I need that? I suppose a big question on society is do you need something? Do you want something? And that is where we need to try and shift society. They turn on a society that goes off needs rather than wants, because we all want different things. Well, and if we all truly want different things, then why are we all chasing the car, and why are we all chasing the house? No, do we actually all want different things, or do we want the same thing? I think all I can really talk about is my views on it, and I think a lot of people in today's society get caught up in the rush and the whole I need to work in order to get this. I need to work this amount to get that. No, try and find the balance of your health, your wealth. Like you need to be looking after yourself. Like you need to be in a good mindset. You need to be happy with what you have. You can't be looking at other people thinking, I wish I had that. No, be happy for what they have, and also recognize that what you need is number one. Mm-hmm. What you want to have in the future is great, but it shouldn't be your life. Like it shouldn't be your whole purpose in life. They have what others have, and want what others want. I think needs, what you need is number one. And I think a lot of people don't actually know what they need. And I think that's where needs, basic needs, is where we need to go back to. Like we need vitamin D. We're not outside enough. I know it's hard. It's even arguable that we don't get enough sunlight in Ireland. But like we need vitamin D. We need to be. If we're not outside, then get your vitamin D. We need to be hydrated. No, we're all living organisms, you know. If you plant a plant in the garden, if you don't water it, you don't get it enough sunlight, you don't give it the right nutrition, it ain't going to grow. We're the same. No, we need to be eating right. We need to be eating good. We need to be drinking well. We need to be well hydrated. We need sunlight, and then you can argue that we need some relationships, and we need to be talking to people. We need to have a good. We don't want to be isolated. No, we don't want to be on our own. We have a better chance of survival and packs. You know, we need to be talking. We need to be looking after each other, because when we are low, then if we don't have somebody looking out for us, then it's harder. Pretty much, it's strength in numbers, I suppose, and again, looking after yourself in terms of like health. So like getting out that walk, you know, looking after your body, and I believe looking after your body will help the mind. You know,
And that's what it seems like you've committed your life purpose to now, is you really look after yourself.
aye.
But along that journey, it seems that you're looking after a lot of people too.
Aye.
You know, you're creating a lot of awareness.
Yeah. It's funny, isn't it? I always like, the example that I like to use is one that, in order to look after other people, you know, if you take it back to the prehistoric times where you had the hunter gatherer times and stuff, where people were sort of saying, right, wait, there's a village of people here. Your job is to go out and get the food. You bring the food back and give it to the rest of the village. Everybody's sweet. But if you go out and get the food and you bring it back and you don't have any yourself, then over time the whole village is going to starve. So it's important that we go out, look after ourselves, come back, and then spread it. You know, I believe that self-care and is that important, that how can you function, how can you truly tell somebody to look after themselves if you're not looking after yourself? No, it's like, if you take it to the very basic level of someone who is, let's say a doctor, for example, and a doctor that isn't looking after their health, and they have a client or a patient that comes in and has got ABC wrong with them, and the doctor's saying, do this, do that, and the doctor's going home and not looking after themselves. Doctor dies. Who's going to give the answers then? No, I think it's important that we like practice what we preach, in the sense that if I'm not looking after my own mental health, if I'm not talking to people about it, if I'm not being an advocate on talking about my own experiences of mental health, in the shape and form of my father, and how I feel at those times, then how can I tell somebody else they just talk about it? No, it's contradicting. You know, I think it's important they just open up and truly sort of say, know how you feel about things. No, it's not to say that you're right in how you feel, in the sense that if I felt that a certain therapy was good for me, no, it doesn't mean that it's right for somebody else. No, I could say, like, go out a 60-minute jog to somebody who just hits running. No, it's not what they need to be hearing. What they need to do is find what works for them, and that is what's right for them. But for me to say, talking about your feelings, is that right for somebody who struggles to open up and struggles to talk? It's not right. It should be, find what you love doing, find what you're passionate about, and if we can't help you find that, then we need to do something. So I think it's a lot of it's with mental health. A lot of it's trial and error, and finding if somebody is feeling suicidal or somebody is feeling that there's something wrong, they don't even know what they're feeling, try and go back to where they felt good. Find their love, find their passion, find whatever it is, and repeat it, and then incorporate other things. But again, if you're not looking after those sort of basic needs, then I believe that we can't function. No wonder why there's problems. No wonder why you're feeling bad. Like, if you're not looking after yourself in terms of vitamin D, getting enough sunlight, if you're not hydrating, if you're not eating right, if you're not looking after your physical health, and your mental health comes along with that, I truly believe that there's no difference between physical and mental health. And the best way I can describe that I don't believe that there's any difference is, have you ever been chatting to somebody who is depressed or felt that depressed where you're feeling physical symptoms?
Myself,
Yeah.
there's always something, but usually them people, I tend to find there's stuff that they haven't brought up in conversation.
Yeah.
So there's like, it's all relative, the mental and the physical body, you know.
Yeah. I remember having a conversation with my daddy, and he wasn't clinically depressed. To me, he seemed depressed. And I remember having a conversation where he told me that he was having physical pain through his depression. And I always see that as, you're feeling this way, that it's causing you pain, physical pain. So that's the brain telling you that you're feeling this physical pain. You feel that. And then on the flip side, so if you completely reverse that, like during the 10 and 10, like the triathlon, the Ironman, I was feeling physical pain, but all of a sudden, my brain would switch off signals. It would block the signal of the physical pain, and I would just be running along, like, should be going to the doctors to get looked at, and my brain's saying, no, that physical pain's not there anymore. And I mean this in a way that I went from feeling physical pain to it being completely masked and blocked out by my brain. So you could nearly argue that the mental health side of things is more important than the physical side of things. If your brain's got the power to tell you that you're feeling pain when you're not in physical pain, and then your brain's telling you that you're not feeling pain when you are in physical pain, what comes first?
I would agree and say that mental health comes first. It's our thoughts. My understanding is that, like, our thoughts are stored in our body. So that's energy that we keep feeding our body with negative thoughts. It just keeps storing in the body somewhere.
Yeah.
And eventually, if them thoughts aren't released or you don't work on them, then it's going to come out in a physical way.
Yeah.
Whether through illness or sickness, whatever.
Yeah. There you go. Huh?
There's a lot of work gone into that at the minute. I'm sure you're aware of the studies, and there's very big influencers like Joe Dispenza, if you know him. He's like very much works with the mind and the body, and a lot of studies that have found confirmations of like people being ill with their thoughts. So like your thoughts have the power to heal you.
Yeah. And a lot of people have like chronic pains that it's interesting because like, if those theories are all correct, then we could be walking around with a pain that a physical pain that we had 10 years ago, that our brain is just says that's the new normal. Sorry. Yeah. So we don't even know we're on physical pain anymore. And it's scary because you could even say that every pain that we've ever had physical has just been masked. And then it opens up a conversation of what's real and what's wrong, and then you don't even want to dive into that. But I think the main things is for me is sunlight, exercise, sleep. I don't think I mentioned that one. Sleep, rest, nutrition. Make sure, like, I have a wee saying that If it swam, ran, grew, or flew, if you can look at something and it swam, ran, grew, or flew, then it's probably okay to eat.
Mm-hmm.
If you're looking at it saying, wonder what's on there, then you probably should stay away.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously just make sure you're well hydrated and drinking plenty of water.
Yes.
I think that should be the first prescription that you ever get from a doctor. And once you're capable of carrying out those 5 things, making sure your sleep's good, making sure your water's good, making sure your food's good, making sure you're resting, making sure that you're looking after yourself physically, then we'll look at the next step. And the next step is tapping into that love, that interest, something that will motivate you intrinsically. Like if you have no motivation intrinsically, then what's the point in doing anything? No, I think like a lot of people just sort of like go through day to day, it's just existing, hey. And I think there's more to life than just existing. You know, finding things that you enjoy and that you get the experience. You know, and I'm not talking materialistic things. Like it could be simple as like going down to the water, hey, and skimming a stone. Do you know what I mean? And like even at that, you know, I remember like recently I went into McGabbery prison where they do a mental health talk to the prisoners, and I was like, right, so what? How can I motivate these prisoners? How can I motivate people who society has told that they need to be locked up? No, and I thought to myself on the drive down, like no plans, nothing written down. Like I don't do things like that. Like I like to go on and just have a heart to heart, you know, with people. And like I went on and it just got to a point where I forget what was said by one of the prisoners, and I just says, hey, look, I wish my daddy was here. I wish my daddy was here in this prison. You know, I wish I could come and visit him. And just by saying that, the prisoners were sort of like, fuck, no. It got them thinking in a way that, you know, we're lucky to be here. Like, we're lucky to be here. No, and I'm not talking about the chances of having reaching the egg. Like that's we exist. We're here, but we're lucky to be here. And why are we lucky to be here is because if you look at it in the sense that we get to see the sun, and we get to wake up, we get to do these things that if we weren't born we wouldn't be able to do. You know, and I think we overcomplicate things, and we can sometimes get caught up in this whole chasing and wanting and not what we need. And if we just focus on what we need, then that's it. Like I know a lot of people say like, what's the meaning of life and stuff, but I truly believe that the meaning of life is focus on what you need, not what you want, and that's it. Hey, what do you need? And it's not a one size fits all. You know, like find what you need, and that's it. Hey, you know.
Yep. It's like back to basics, and I suppose being grounded.
Yeah. Is it even basics? Is it even basics? Like, no, it's what else is there? Mm-hmm. Like if you take away all the materialistic things, like what is there to do? What is there to do? Like, no, do the things that you love, and that's it. Like, no, do the things that you love. Look after yourself. Bye.
So the basics, like, all you need is food. You need a home. And you just need people around you. That's all you need.
Yeah.
That's all we need to be balanced and to be happy. But we get caught up in the rat race.
Yes. Society.
Yeah.
We get caught up in this thing that we're told that we need this to be successful. We're told that we need this to be a good person. We're told that we need to do this to be a good person. We're told that we need to do that to be a good person. We need to go to here. We need to be seen doing this. We need to please this. We need to please yourself. Like we need to please yourself. Do the things that make you happy. Do the things that we're here to do. Like take it right back. Like pull back the curtains. Like and look at the sun, man. You know, and I think like again, like everything that we perceive to be what we need actually isn't what we need. You know, like we need to eat. and we can go over it again and again and again, but what do we need to survive? Like, now ask yourself that. Like, what do you need to survive? And that's what you chase. That's what you chase. As long as you're getting that, and as long as you're hitting that, then you're going well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're doing well. Like,
yeah, I feel like for me it was just what I needed was inner peace. You know, and when I found that inner peace, I realized that actually nothing really mattered. Just
existing.
Exist and loving myself for who and what I am without anything.
Yeah.
You know, that can be a hard place to get to. A lot of people struggle to get there.
It's
like,
as if
I struggled to get there, but when I got there, you know, I had to put myself through a whole lot of challenges to get there.
Yeah.
You know, so like, how can other people get there?
I always like think of it like this. Like, what's the worst situation? What is the worst? If you're sitting at the house and you're worrying about something, you're worrying about a bill, or you're worrying about. Most people are worrying about bills. They're worrying about stuff that doesn't really matter until something bad really happens, and we're worrying about a cancer, or we're worrying about an illness, or we're worrying about not being able to move, or something that's stopping us from keep going, and then the real worry sets in, and I believe that is something that you should worry about, you know, and the things that we worry about most of the time, we shouldn't really worry about, and how do you, like, what you were on about, like, how do you get to that stage, and it's funny because sometimes I ask myself that question, and I always go back to, if the worst things didn't happen, would I be thinking this way? And I can honestly say that I don't think I would, and like a big thing in society now is that we look. I don't personally, but I feel that a lot of people look up to people who are successful financially, successful in some shape or form, it materialistically successful. I believe that we give that more airtime than we should. I believe that we should be focusing, like, if we need advice, like, I want to speak to the lowest person. I want to, in society, I want to speak to the person who's living on absolutely nothing, and asking them, how do you do it? Like, if I can continue to live, like, a homeless person on the street, like, imagine a homeless person on the street, like, how do they get through? How do you do that? Like, that's the people that I want advice from. Like, I live I've got a wee house in Derry. It's grand. It's a roof over my head. It's got heat. It's got beds for my kids. How does the homeless person that's sitting down on Strand Road live? How do they do it? Like, tell me, because that to me is inspiring. The fact that you can sit on a cold sidewalk or a cold pad, and you're sitting there, and, you know, how do you do it? Like, you know, that's questions, that's stuff that I would like to know the answer to. No, and I know a lot of them are have got an alcohol addiction, and I know a lot of them could have a drug addiction, but it's still something that I look at and be thinking, is you know, maybe it's conversations that I should have with these people. You know, there's no point me in sitting here and saying, like, you know, how do you do it or whatever. But I think there's a lot of knowledge in them people, and I don't feel that we should put anybody on a pedestal and make them any more unequal. I think we're all equal, and it's something that I value everybody the same. You know, I value everybody the same, no matter how much you make or what material things you possess. I treat everybody the same, you know, and I think that's something that over time you get to understand that everybody's human and everybody is on the same boat, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm in agreement. Like, I feel that every single human, animal, whatever, we are all equal. There's nobody better than anyone else. But sometimes people, you know, we look at others and they think because they've done this and that, but that person that you're looking to is looking to someone else, and it's like you don't even know what's going on in their head. Maybe they're not even happy with what they have, you know.
Yeah.
So it's just like you don't really know the people that you appreciate. You don't really know what's going on inside their head, you know. So it's really, I feel like it's really back to appreciating yourself, appreciating from where you've come from to where you are right now, and just loving yourself in that moment. Because there's times in the past where I've compared myself, and you get caught up and you're like, why are you comparing yourself? You know, the only person to compare myself to is the person I was yesterday. And it just brings me right back, and then I can love myself again in that moment, you know. So yeah,
definitely, hey, man. I think like the most important advice that I could give anybody is make sure you're following those basic needs, you know. And you could chat all day like about what's right and what's wrong and what way they live your life and what way you shouldn't. But like it'll come round and it'll come round, and you'll be contradicting yourself before you know it. You know, I don't think there's a right or wrong way to love. I think it's here's what will make you feel like doing something, and here's what will make you feel like you want to just lie and sleep and do nothing. And again, it's if that's what you want to do, how can you say that it's wrong? You know, if somebody wants to climb Everest, then here's how you do it. If somebody wants to lie in a bed, then here's how you do it. You know, like there's no there's no right or wrong way of doing things, but I can definitely say that I am where I am today, and here talking to you, like because I was passionate about suicide, and I was passionate about the fact that when I lost my daddy, it was a bad place to be, and I regret not talking about it sooner, and I regret about not doing something immediately after they remember in his memory. I regret not doing something straight away. Here's what I'm doing for my daddy, and saying this isn't right.
Around mental health, then there seems to be, I suppose, would you call it a stigma, or like a perception of people who, you know, fall victim to suicide?
Yeah. I think like it stems back a long time. A lot of it's religion based as well and stuff. For example, like if you had have died in, I think it was like 1980s in Ireland, suicide was considered a mortal sin. It's only God who decides who dies and who doesn't. And so even in the church and stuff, like you weren't buried in the chapel grounds if you died. It was just seen as a mortal sin. Like
as in, if you committed suicide, you were not.
Yeah, like that has changed. That has changed. You're now allowed to be buried in the chapel grounds and stuff. But that obviously that plays effect on people's heads and how they think about suicide, and I think like more recently, people are starting to, question as, hold on, this isn't a selfish act. This isn't something that people choose. No, this is an illness, or this is we were talking about society earlier, and this is a failure in society. This is a failure of a lot of different aspects coming together, and even learning from being a child on how to express your feelings and how to deal with it and talk about it. Suicide has become something that we're slowly talking about. It's slowly becoming something that, and what I mean by talking about it isn't geez, that was selfish what they did, isn't it? Gee, they shouldn't have done that. And it's starting to become, per them, and even that, in a sense, it's. I don't believe it's right. What I believe in the sense that suicide is a stat. It's a number. It's something that person died from suicide. And whenever we talk about somebody dying from a car crash, we don't start to get on the why did that happen. You think, gee, someone's died here. Remember the time they were having a crack down at the bar? No, you don't think about why they died. That isn't the conversation. It's, remember the time we went to the beach and we did this. When we talk about suicide, we focus too much on the whys. We focus too much on how they died. We focus too much on what ifs, the why did they do that. No, the person's dead. No, have respect. Like, think about that person. Think about the good times. That person. It's just like any other death. In terms of that family, if you create this topic where it's difficult to talk about by thinking why, could they not have done this? Could we not have done that? And start thinking about the person. Think about the family. Think about someone's died here. Let's try and remember all the happy times. Let's try and remember. It's like talking about somebody who is, for example, died of cancer. You're not thinking, the last few hours, the pain. You're not thinking. The conversation doesn't go that way. It goes to remember that time. Remember the happy time. Remember the drive to such and such. Do you remember the concert? Do you remember? You start to think about the person. When it's suicide, it tends to be, we think about the suicide. We think about all the things that we could have changed, and we tend to think about the things that, and we go off on a tandem. We go off on something that doesn't need to be. What we need to do is we need to sort of say, someone's died from suicide. Okay, that's the cause of death. Move on, move past it. Don't take offense to it. Don't call it selfish. Don't call it whatever it is. It's a suicide. It's probably, I think it's the third most common death in Ireland. Something like 300 in the north per year since records began. Every year. It's just in North Ireland. It's every 4 seconds a man has died from suicide, and worldwide, every 4 seconds. Like, I don't know how many that's been since we started doing this. But what I like to do is by talking about it openly, like we're doing now, it removes that stigma. It removes the preconceived idea of it being a selfish act, it being sinful, it being were they not thinking about this? you don't know what they're thinking about. Half the time you don't know what our next thought's going to be in 20 seconds. You don't know. Like, I think we focus too much on the whys and the hows, and we forget about the person, you know.
I'm going to ask you a question then. Just taking advice on what you just talked about there, and I'm going to ask you, because there's times where I've met people, you know, someone's died, and I do find it a hard conversation to bring up, because there's a part of me that thinks they might get upset, and I don't want that to happen. Yeah. But there's also a part of me that does want to talk about it.
Yes.
You know? So, like, what is your best memory with your father?
What's the best memory of my dad? It's actually a time that my dad took me fishing, and he took me on his motorbike. So my dad had, on his motorbike, he had a fishing rod, he had a dinghy on a motorbike. Like, I don't know where this stuff came from, but I remember like sitting on the back of my dad's motorbike, and we headed somewhere. I was only a kid, like I was really young, and I just remember, hey, the wand on the motorbike, even being on a motorbike was cool. You know what I mean? Like, never mind going fishing on a motorbike.
Yeah.
Like, we were going on a motorbike, they drive somewhere, they go fishing. And I remember getting to the place, and it's funny because my dad left me on the field and he went out on the dinghy himself fishing, and I was on it's one of my best, because it was actually scary in a way. But I was on this field. My dad was out on the lake fishing, and like this bull, it was a bull, like, was on the field. And my dad was on the boat. He was well out there, like, and I was on the field. I was only, I don't know, I was like 10, I don't know, 12, maybe 12. And I seen this bull coming to me. And I was like, oh shit, I need to go somewhere. So I like ran across the field. I hid on these bushes. Like, I was sitting on these bushes, and the bull came over, and then all these cows came over, and I was just sitting there, and I was like, my dad better hurry up and come back. No, my dad better hurry up and come back. And he came back, and he had a pile of fish. So yeah, like 7 or 8 fish, and he scared the shit out of the cows and all away, and he came and got me in eventually. Like, I don't know how long I was there for, but I just remember these wee bits, and I was like, and I remember coming home, and it was just daddy son time. No, I'm getting to experience that now with my own kids, but it was daddy son time, and we went fishing. I didn't go fishing. I got stranded on a field, and the cows surrounded me.
You're farming.
I cleared. I don't know what I was doing there. He obviously was looking to go fishing, and he left me here on a field. Like, he could probably see me, but he probably see me running as well. He must have had some laugh now that I think about it. Like, but I wouldn't mind hearing that story from him. You know, his point of view. Like, I don't know. He probably never repeats that. He probably never repeated that story when he was alive, because he left me on a field, and he was out fishing. But he caught fish, so yeah. That's one of my favourites, and what I can remember, and it was only because it was, you know, you're on the back of a bike, you're holding on to your daddy, and it was nice. It's a nice wee memory I have of him. I remember jumping the gates, you know, the gates of the field and all, and I remember all that. I was small and he was big, and it was just nice wee memories like that. There, he is the ones that are really, really special, and you don't get to talk about that kind of thing, you know. I think it's probably very, very few and far between where you get to reminisce and chat about the nice times that you have with your daddy. And again, a lot of it's to do with awkwardness and how you approach death, and how you approach people. But like talking about the good times is really helpful. I feel like talking about the good times in anybody's death is really helpful, and like, as you say, it is an awkward conversation that you're having with somebody who's lost anybody to anything, but it's good therapy. It's good to think about the good times. You know.
So it's like we need to make the abnormal normal, and it's only awkward at the start, but once we start, I suppose, just asking them questions, because I suppose who doesn't like to talk about loved one,
I know.
you know?
Especially good times. Like everybody likes to sort of think about a good time. But again, like triggering those responses is important, and being able to like dive into those happy times as well as diving into the bad times. Who am I to talk about mental health if I can't talk about how I was feeling? Like, it doesn't work. Like, you need to practice what you preach. Like, you need to be. If I was telling you to drink water and eat well, and I wasn't doing it myself, then what's the point? Like, if I was sitting here, like, I'm prepping now for a 100k swim. How am I going to be able to do that? Do the basics. Do the basics. Be consistent. But you can't be consistent unless you're looking after the basics. So, like, if you're telling somebody that the key to be a good athlete is stay consistent, do it day in, day out, and you're not looking after the basics, then forget about it. If you're not hydrated, how are you going to go train tomorrow? If you're not in any way looking after yourself, then how are you going to continue to do this? You might last 2 months, you might last a year, you might last 2 years, but over time you're going to burn out, man. You're not going to get there unless you're looking after those basic needs and getting all that down.
It seems like you've come to a place where you're really about celebrating people's lives now, and that's, I feel like, the direction that you've gone with.
Yeah.
I suppose the energy around suicide, and you're really making a difference with that, because I follow you on Instagram and I see that every time you do a swim, you're celebrating that person's life.
Yeah.
That seems like your purpose, or somewhat aligned with your mission now. It's just like a celebration.
This celebration is really to do with a lot of the stigma that we talked about. This belief that and stigma comes in all shapes and forms. Like, people are quick to judge. People are quick to judge, and I think, like, by saying such and such shouldn't have did this, they should have did that, is you're not in their shoes. You don't know how they feel. You don't know what you don't know. As simple as, you just don't know what you're talking about. So I think, like, by me doing something that I am wanting to show people that if we can look at somebody who has died through suicide and say, I'm swimming for them, it breaks down that stigma surrounding that person. No, because a lot of judgment would be that person wasn't thinking of other people. He was being selfish. She was being selfish, or they were doing this because of this. Then we lose hope. We lose hope, hey? And I think, like, by swimming in their memory or swimming for them, it's saying they were good. They were people. Simple as, they were people. They were human, just like you, just like me. They're human beings. They're not a failure. They're not the stigma. They're not the suicide. They're a human, just like anybody else, and that's it. If I was doing this swim for 103 people who died of cancer, would there be the same questions asked? Would there be the same judgments? I don't know. So like, what I hope to achieve from doing this is simply helping the family of that person, of that individual, realize that, hold on a minute, yes, they died, but let's remember them. Hey, let's remember them. Let's talk about them. Let's celebrate them. Let's help other people who may be feeling that way. No, they realise that they're cared about. No, they realise that they mean more than what they might be thinking what they mean. No, they realise that ending it isn't the answer. No, if I can do this swim and celebrate these people and put these people get equal, make them equal to every other death, to every other person, to every other human that has passed in any shape or form, why not? Why not do it? No, it's no. There's no difference in them. No, there's an illness is an illness, a death is a death, and these are people who deserve to be remembered and deserve to be celebrated and deserve to the people that they've left behind. It's just like any other death. Are people that need to have something in order to remember these people by, and no shadow of how they died. Just that's it. Hey, the name, the person. No, I'm putting up these wee posts on Instagram and stuff, and it's a name, and then there's a photograph, and then the thing that we don't see is the story behind that photograph. No, these are people. These are people who have died. No, that there's the name, there's the photograph, but there's a story behind these people, and that story is to be celebrated. No, this is something that then people need to be celebrated and have a memory. No, have a memory. Express your memory. Don't be afraid of expressing your memory because of how they died. No, just talk about them. Reminisce. Like don't feel the need that you're not allowed to talk about these people because of a judgment that somebody has, probably premeditated by society, premeditated by the church, premeditated by anything that is a stigma or some sort of, I don't want to say a bad word, but it's just nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
No, absolute nonsense. What people believe to be the reasoning doesn't matter. It's about the person. It's about who they are. It's about what they love to do. It's about memorizing that person, talking about that person in order to prevent it happening in the future. The other people who feel like they can't talk about their problems. No, it's breaking that down. It's in a subconscious, in a far place, breaking down that stigma surrounding the Foyle, the river itself. No, we've got a river in Derry called the River Foyle, and the first thing that pops into anybody's head in Derry is how many people throw themselves in it. No, what we want to do is we want to create a river that is it's seen as a river. It's not seen as an end point. No, it's there's a lot of subliminal stuff happening in the background that we hope to achieve through doing this, creating awareness, creating everything else that comes alongside and hand in hand. But the main thing for me is to celebrate these people. No, and that's it. Hey,
You celebrate them in a phenomenal way. You know, you're like, you know, you talk about human, but I would say that you're a superhuman. Like, you've done 10 Ironmans in 10 days. That's incredible. What drove you to do that? Like,
so the same kind of thing that's happening now with this celebration of life. The 10 Ironman in 10 days was my daddy's 10th year anniversary. It was his 10. It died 10 years. He was a triathlete. Ironman is like the pinnacle, the major milestone that a triathlete would try to achieve if it was going endurance wise and longevity. So like the idea was 10 Ironman, 10 days, my daddy's 10th year anniversary. No better way of marking it, and I always wanted to do a fundraiser for suicide awareness and suicide prevention, and that was that all just came together and it created the 10 and 10.
and not only like doing it with purpose, but how did you actually prepare yourself for that? Like, because it's not just it's not just like going out and doing an Ironman in itself is a feat, but 10 of them in 10 days, you know. Like,
yeah, like I did a lot of training. Like I was training for almost a year, I think. Actually, I wasn't. I come from a triathlon background. Like I trained with my daddy. I watched my daddy my whole life doing triathlons. Like he was everywhere. He raced for Ireland, triathlon international athlete, and I would have witnessed triathlons growing up, and then I started training with my daddy about 4 months before he died for triathlons specifically. I would have been a big basketball player. I played basketball for about 7 years before I started training with my daddy, And then I trained with my daddy for about 4 months before he died. And then when he died, I always wanted to do something for suicide, and I ended up 10 years later. It was lockdown happened. Lockdown gave me, I would say, in a sense, it untapped free time. I had a lot of free time. I had a lot of time to think, and that's where the 10 and 10 came through lockdown. In the middle of lockdown, it was like, I'm going to do something here for me daddy, and I've got time now to plan it and carry it out. And then that's where it all came.
And so it wasn't the same course every day. Did you have to go to a new city or?
Well, it was the same course every day. So like the swim changed slightly, the bike course changed slightly at the beginning, but it was like sort of trial and error to find what was the most effective way and the in a sense the easiest way. The easiest way wasn't easy, but it was the easiest way. Like I didn't go up my more gap. Like I wasn't cycling up my more gap for the cycle leg. No, try to keep it as flat as possible. I try to keep it as, like, there were still 2,000 feet of climbing, I think, every lap, so maybe 4,000 feet of climbing, maybe 2,500 feet of climbing. Might have got that wrong, but there's still like a couple of thousand feet climbing. But I try to make it as flat as possible in the bike leg and the run leg. And then the swim was on 9 o'clock. We moved it on side because it was getting too cold, and that's kind of influenced this new challenge to get the open water stuff, which is going to be really difficult. Like I was coming out of the cold water thinking I need to put my shoes on before I put my socks on, like simple things like it was just completely delusional in terms of like my brain functioning wasn't working right because it was so cold and I was so tired. So like that was a mad time.
Fair play. It's impressive, you know. I'm sure there's not many that have done it before you. You're one of a very few. And it's interesting because like we do these things for a lot of the time. We do them because we want to get the gold medal and we want to compete. But like your gold medal is awareness.
Yeah, the main thing for me in the 10 and 10 was like we were talking about that spiritual thing at the before we started recording. But you were talking about like how you've become a more spiritual person. I wanted to connect with my daddy in some shape or form. And my daddy loved triathlon. I loved triathlon at that stage, and I felt that was somewhat spiritually connected in the sense that we were on the same mindset. And obviously my daddy's not here anymore, but he loved triathlon. No, there was a brief spell in the water where I felt like I was looking at myself, and it was my daddy was there along with me and stuff. And I think like, no, it was just that connection spiritually with my daddy, and that the 10 and 10 was my way of connecting with my daddy. It was a way of helping others, and it was a way of, again, me getting intrinsic purpose, intrinsic value of being alive, what it is to be alive, why I should remain alive, and why I can somewhat connect with my daddy again. And I think it was nice to get it finished. But anytime I swam, I really felt that my daddy was watching over me, and in the sense that like in a flash I might have been thinking, my arm, my stroke isn't long enough, and I could think back to times where my dad was saying, "Oh, let it glide out a wee bit further," and it was just bringing back those wee tips that my daddy would have taught me, and it was bringing me back to a time where my daddy was here in person and not in my head, and I think it really did. I think people actually connected in the sense that people were thinking, he's doing this for his daddy. His daddy's looking over him. his daddy's helping him as well as everybody else was coming in and helping me. No, and it really showed that one, there's hope for people who have lost people to suicide. Two, it actually helped me as a person understand more on the suicide itself, and how I can help people conquer any mental problem that they may be facing. And then three, it did what I set out to do. You know, we raised £110,000 for suicide awareness and prevention. You know, and I was able to donate that back into my community. Like we've helped like over 200 people with 1-to-1 counselling, and not only that, we've set up family support schemes and programs where people can like talk about their mental health and come in and just talk in general. You know, it's a lot of good came from it, and it helped me out even more so. So any goodness that came from it is in a way, it helped me find comfort, and it helped me truly connect with my daddy, and it helped me not only progress in how I treat mental health and how I understand a wee bit more about it. It helped lift people. You know, it helped people see that you're not truly gone when you're gone, and you're not truly done when you lose a loved one. No, and you can keep going, and you can keep her just healthy, and you don't need to crumble. No, you don't need to give in the what people expect to happen. No, and it helped me in the sense that it made me realize that I can help more people. You know, it gave me if you want to say like a platform to continue in this line of work. You know, without doing that, I was just another person talking about mental health and doing it out of obviously a care, but it showed people that I'm willing to put my body on the line. They promote this. You know, it showed people that I'm willing to suffer in order to get a message across that here I am suffering, but what you see isn't how I'm feeling, and it crosses over on the mental health. No, what you see in somebody doesn't actually tell you how they're feeling. No, I could be sitting here now chatting to you, and I could be going home and thinking about ways and how to kill myself. No, you don't know, like, unless you ask these questions and truly chat to people and try to show people that it's okay to talk about how they feel or what's going on in their life, then you'll never really know how anybody feels, you know.
It can be hard to open up. A lot of the time we're so conditioned from a young age because we haven't been given them tools to talk. And then, you know, men can be very manly, like, or manly. It's just like, nope, not going to talk. That makes me weak, you know. But there's strength in the vulnerability when you're willing to open up and talk about the things that.
Once we show people that talking, in the sense that if I say to you, what's a crack? No, you're able to talk about it. But if I says to you, do you feel suicidal? No, what's the difference? It's just a pile of words. But whenever you ask somebody, do you feel suicidal? It can sometimes freak somebody out. But being the third biggest killer in Ireland, how can something so common be so taboo? How can something be unable to talk about something that is rife be wrong? How can people be dying with this thing all the time and we're still afraid to say, do you feel suicidal to somebody? No, I always laugh because I don't laugh. It's pretty serious. But if you think about it, if there's somebody online on social media and it's somebody that you know, like just the other day I seen a post up and it was somebody saying like, oh, what's the point in me being here? Automatically you're thinking, Jesus, they're not wise, they're not right in the head. Whereas you need to be reaching out to that person. Like you need to be saying, hold on a minute, like why am I judging this person? They've actually went online, they've wrote this post up saying that they're feeling unwell, and we're saying, did you see that? They such and such. No. If you find yourself judging people like that, then time to readjust yourself and reach out to people, and chances are there's probably something going on with you if you're judging somebody, and that when they're so vulnerable and they're so open and how they're feeling.
You're going now with the next challenge then, which is swimming the Foyle to Kennego Bay.
So the plan is swim Lifford, get in at Lifford, head down the river, and the Loch Foyle, and then head on from Loch Foyle out the Atlantic, and the Kennego Bay, set up camp in Kennego Bay, and then swim in Kennego Bay. Target is 106 kilometres. That's the target. That's the equivalent to the Channel swim 3 times. It's like swimming Ireland to Scotland, back to Ireland, back to Scotland, and then 3 times that. So that's the target. The initial target was to swim a kilometre for every person, but then I just thought like having a number beside somebody's name just didn't really sit well with me. So I just collaborated everybody. Mm-hmm. The whole swim is for the whole celebration, you know, and it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be 6 hours on, 6 hours off. So that's the sort of the idea behind the swim, and in terms of logistics and stuff. We're going to figure it out as we go. Mm-hmm. It's going to be cold and it's going to be dark because we'll be swimming through the night. And again, like I had to get like vaccines and stuff for the swimming in the water, so I had to get like tetanus jag, hepatitis jag, just to make sure I don't get sick. Hopefully, like fingers crossed, I don't get ill during. If I get ill after I finish, that's okay. As long as I come around eventually. But I don't want to be getting like sick during it. Like just swimming is going to be hard enough. You know, if you imagine sitting in the one spot for 6 hours, swimming for 6 hours constantly is going to be a definite challenge. Like,
well, you've done something like that before, 10 and 10 days, so I've no doubt you'll smash it. It's amazing work, Danny, what you're doing. It really, really is inspiring, and just even sitting here with you, you know, having this conversation, I haven't experienced what you've experienced, but I know there's suicide is very common at the minute. There's like more than I've ever heard, so I really believe that this conversation will add value to the community, to the people who tune in, and especially to the families, you know, through your experience and what you've learned, you know, and how you've overcome and how you've gone from strength to strength to strength, you know, and it's just it's beautiful, Danny.
Hey, cool. Thanks. Hey.
Danny, thank you very much.
Thank you,
it's
man.
been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
You're an inspiring guy.
Cool.
You know, you really, really are.
I appreciate that.
Keep up the good work, and I'm sure you're going to impact many lives. Many, many lives.
Thank you, sir. Thanks. I appreciate that. Thanks for your time. Thanks for having me. And hopefully we get back on it after the swim.
I'm sure we will. It'll be a pleasure.
Cool.
Thank you, Danny.
Thank you, sir.
That is all from Danny this time. That was an amazing conversation. So interesting to hear Danny talk and share his experience and his insight to understanding people's mental health and how passionate he is about, doing the work that he's doing to create more awareness and help people with their own journeys. I'm going to include a link in this episode if you feel like donating to Danny's cause and being part of his change. So thank you very much again for listening, and I ask you to remember that you are the infinite creator.